Another one was an agent, right? And I forget sometimes. Yeah, it's a classic. Of course, someone was telling them that I can get you here, I could do this, and the reality of it was, you know what, he could do that, but it's just going to cost you money for no reason. And you're already at a certain position, and you know, just be very nice and polite. It's always good to listen to people, but be nice and polite to the person. Just say, you know what, thank you for your time, and you know, as we move forward, maybe, you know, we'll touch base again. But I think it was a case of someone trying to throw a lot of mud on the wall, and hopefully it sticks. So he was appreciative of that, and his parents are very intelligent, so they came to that conclusion. But he or the parents wanted to bounce it off of me to see what I think, because you never know, right? It might be a really good thing.
Well, I mean, we should soon we should actually do a full episode like just on the agent thing.
Sure.
Because I know a lot of times we rip on it and like we're talking about it's not necessary, you don't need this, you don't need that, but to actually like get into the nuts and bolts, because it's funny because we always say you don't need an agent, but then all these kids have agents. So for someone who's seeing like every OHL kid has an agent, basically, that's confusing. It's like, well, then why are you telling me I shouldn't get an agent? So it'd be good to like go through the nuts and bolts of that.
Yeah. Well, just a quick something on that is there's times that they're very necessary, and I know for our family it's been good because it lets me be dad, like make good decisions, and let the agent take care of the stuff that needs to be done. So it's good. And some teams you'll get drafted to, and their first question is, or they do an interview, and the first question is, who's your agent? And some of the teams actually want you to have one because it takes away that dad relationship, like when the NHL goes to arbitration. So you know what that is, right? So guys he has an option, free agent option, or what is it? It's a restricted free agent option. So let's just say you're playing for the Edmonton Oilers. That'd be nice, huh? And you're year 5, and you have an option to go to unrestricted free agency, and you're bargaining. You think you need $4 million a year, and the team thinks 3, and it goes to arbitration. Well, they don't. If you sit there as a player and you sit there with your manager, a lot of like the job is to you get the most that you can get. Right. My job's to squeeze to pay you as little as I can, and so well that's interesting. That was early. So my job is to tell the arbitrator all the things that you're not good at, and now your feelings can get hurt if and it will, no matter what. Even if you're the thickest skin, right? Yep. You're going to say, "Oh, I didn't know you thought about that with me," and your job is to tell you how great you are and all that stuff. So having the agent do that kind of stuff is a lot better. So in situations where you do have to do some negotiating or find information out, agents are good, providing they're good agents, and there's some really good ones out there. Yeah. And actually, agents have a lot of power at the high level. I won't go into that today, but it has a lot of they do have a lot of power, providing you're a really good player. So the context of that is like, in when you're starting off your junior career, high-end guys will have high-end agents come up to them and try to represent them.
And that's the question. So when is it appropriate? Yeah. That is what the discussion is about. So being able to go walk through that, because we have a podcast coming out on Thursday, so it'll be out when this goes out, but with Mike Weber. Yeah. And he touched on that early on when you guys were talking about when you start to get into, not that OHL is a professional league, but there's a professionalism about it, and you have contracts, and you're dealing with business, and that kind of stuff, and you need someone who knows what they're doing to help you get the best in what you can get for your services to the league or whatever. Yeah. And if you don't have someone that's experienced doing that, then you can get screwed because people can take advantage of you. Like, that's what happens. Not every person that works in every organization is the best person ever, and if they see an opening where maybe you don't really know that you could get this then maybe they can exploit that, so there's things like that where it becomes more appropriate. But in the context we're talking about with this kid that reached out to you, that isn't really what the question, you're not at that point yet, right, where that is appropriate. And that's what the issue is. So kids think when they're 13, 14, 15, I need to get an agent so that they can do my bidding for me. That's right. And that's not really what it's for. That's not really the purpose of having that. Right. So for you to go look for an agent, like, that's not really what you should be doing at that stage. Right. The agents will come to you when the time is right, given that you're a player that needs an agent or whatever, they'll find you. You can't hide if you're a good player.
Yeah.
So they'll come to you when it's time, and then you can start to make those decisions. So that's just a little tangent on that.
Yeah, no, that's good because it's not ripping because like the hockey world's the hockey world itself can be kind of greasy, right? Like from every level, from management to there's guys in the NHL that's called the old boys club, and they'll always have a job, and they'll always make $3, $4, $5 million a year, no matter how good they do or how poorly they do. They're going to go somewhere else with their old buddies. That's greasy. It's not necessarily the most qualified people. Some people don't put the time in. Like you might have a player development guy in the National Hockey League, and Dalton and I were just, and I don't know if you're a part of that conversation, but because that's a field that he's looking at getting into, and he was talking about the one team, and he goes, well, the guy doesn't care, Andy. He goes, and this is why I want to do this, because I care so much about giving the kids information and developing them the right way. And this guy was just like, yeah, whatever, it's this. And it's like, okay, so that's not the best player development guy. So at all different fields, people just want to stay involved and make a paycheck from hockey somehow, whether they qualify or not. So that's with the agents. There's a ton of good ones.
Yeah.
No, that's wrong. Not a ton. There's some good agents that do a great job. And your expectations of, like you said, your expectations of an agent getting you a job or promoting you, that's not what they're for.
Yeah, it's like you get yourself there, and then they make sure you get the best you can get with the opportunity you've created for yourself, kind of thing. It's not they're not getting you the opportunity. You're getting the opportunity, and then they're getting the best situation possible for you in that situation. Yeah, and that's why I wanted to clarify that, because we'll do that. We'll do a full episode on that one day, because we always do say that you don't need an agent. You don't need, that is something we always say, but it's in the context of the time frame we're talking about. Yeah. So that's why you got to be careful about like the blanket statements about stuff, right? Not that we make those, because we don't, but for when the way people ask us, it's like, oh, do I need an agent? It's like, well, you're 14.
Well, it's really funny because it just made me think of something. I'm not going to say this player's name. Okay. You'll figure it out. He has a huge contract that works with me. So when he was coming to his second contract, he was telling me, he goes, my agent still wants 3% or whatever. I think it was 3%. He goes, I'm not paying him that. And he was all bitter and stuff. And I'm like, okay, but the thing is that when you needed him to get you the endorsement deal here and this in your first contract and promote you and all that kind of, like, I use the word promote lightly. It was fine, but now you're making the big bucks and you realize that, the agent's making a lot of money. Now you don't want to give it to him. And that's where players can be assholes too.
Oh yeah. So, and that is the point. If you get a good agent, like that is what they're waiting for that day.
That's right. That's right. Because really what they do, like a real agent when they start off, is it's costing them money. It's costing them time. So like in our world, our advisor spends a little bit of time. And I probably don't know how much, but he spends some time. He makes some phone calls and he gives us updates on what's possibly going on. And, it's a phone call and it's how you doing? And it doesn't bug us in any way, but it's time and it's costing money. And if the kids would have played this year, you would have been to a couple games. It would have been time and money to get to places. So, and that's what at the end of the day, we have them so that if it all works out, that's how he gets paid. And so to take it away from him, that's not fair. That's not integrity, in my opinion.